I'm TAP-G.
And I'm SurferClock.
And welcome to What's the Attraction, where our work is your vacation.
Well, folks, ask and you shall receive. Today we are reviewing Song of the South as part of a new experimental segment we are calling Theme Park Real View. Yes, folks, we intend to...
I just got it. Real view, as in movie reel in a review. It's a real view. Shutting up.
Yep, that is correct. We're going to have a look at movies that inspired theme park rides.
No offense to Waylon Jennings, of course. We wanted to take a look at all the major films that inspire attractions and other ways around. So we'll probably review things like Pirates of the Caribbean, but we'll also check out things like The Cat in the Hat, Dinosaur, Haunted Mansion, and we might even have to play the E.T. video game again.
No, we would be reviewing the E.T. movie, which of course is amazing, but, well, that's another segment for another day. Today we are starting Theme Park Real View by taking a look at Song of the South.
Yes, that's right, because the Splash Mountain review went over particularly well. Again, thank you again to Christian Willis of songofthesouth.net for giving us the review of our review. So we decided to review Song of the South.
Song of the South. What to say about it? It's a 1946 Disney film. We kind of went into pretty extensive detail during our Splash Mountain review about the film itself. We're just going to go ahead and take the time to review the film as a film. How does it stand up? Well, we're going to look at it in several aspects. We're going to look at the film's story. Of course, I'm a story guy. That had to be put in there.
Yeah, of course.
We're going to see how the story holds up. The music, because there are quite a few toe-tapping tunes.
Really? I didn't know.
We're going to have a look at the characters and the animation, because this is a live-action and animation hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to rate it overall. So, let's go ahead and start with the film's story.
The story centers around a young boy named Johnny and his mother are going to stay with their grandma, Aunt Doshi, on their southern plantation in Georgia. But little Johnny realizes that it's hard to get along when you don't have a paternal figure in your life. So he ends up meeting this old ex-slave named Uncle Remus. And Uncle Remus is everything you could imagine for. He is like the enigma of Santa Claus, Morgan Freeman, and a dream grandfather all rolled into one.
You got a good point.
And he starts teaching Johnny lessons and morals through the tales of Uncle Remus, as of the Brer Rabbit stories, I should say. And that's what we tend to remember most, courtesy of Splash Mountain. So as the story goes on, Johnny learns a few things along the way, standing up to bullies, meeting a little girl, and of course overcoming a little bit of peer pressure. And the movie kind of plods along in that manner. And I think that's the main criticism of your story critique.
Yeah, well, the movie has a bit of a problem with pacing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Uncle Remus stories, they are very nicely interwoven with the live-action segments. Mm-hmm. And you can see the application of these stories to Johnny's life.
Yes.
Which really kind of helps it along and gives it a sense of purpose.
One of the things you really have to remember is that if you read the original stories by Joel Chandler Harris, they are the tales of Uncle Remus starring Brer Rabbit. That's what they're best known for. Everything from the Tar Baby and so on and so forth. But the story, there is little hints as to the Favors Boys and Johnny and a few others, but they're barely at all referenced.
Well, they're supporting characters that kind of help Johnny overcome his own issues.
The point I'm trying to make, though, is that they're fleshed out in the Disney movie.
Yeah.
They're meant to be, they were saying, okay, we got the stories about Brer Rabbit. What about these characters outside it? We need to frame these guys in the proper context. And the movie does become mainly about Johnny, but the film is definitely highlighting the stories of Brer Rabbit.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty obvious as to that Disney didn't quite know how to work with live-action actors at this point.
You think?
Little Bobby Driscoll and Luana Patton, who played Johnny and Ginny, were Disney's first contracted actors. And even though Disney has had experience working with actors like with Robert Benchley in The Reluctant Dragon and Deems Taylor in Fantasia and Leopold Stokowski, that was really the extent of their live-action direction, at least in recent memory. So here it doesn't really come off as well, because it was really the first time they really worked with child actors.
That being said, though, I think they served the story well.
Yeah.
And, I mean, to me, the story itself makes sense, but I feel like they could have maybe done a little bit more. It's a very basic film, if you really break it down into its most basic parts.
One of the things I like best is that it is a very simple story overall. It does kind of plot along at a poor pace, but compare it to something like Alice in Wonderland and the Jungle Book. both those movies have very little story.
Sure.
The main idea is that you're supposed to enjoy the characters while you're there. And that is what Song of the South does. You enjoy the characters. Sadly, though, you're enjoying Brer Rabbit more than you are Johnny. So the story is kind of weak. So I will have to give it a rating of a 2.5 out of 5.
Really? I mean, I liked the story, and it served its very basic purpose very well, but I'm not really sure that it's, like, the best story or, you know, the utilization. And I mean, yeah, it's 1946.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
Next, let's talk about the music.
Is there any popular music from Song of the South? Zippity-doo-dah.
Zippity-doo-dah.
Yeah, that's right.
It does kind of serve as a little bit of an overture throughout the film. Mm-hmm.
Because I mean,
you hear it quite a few times.
It is a very infectious song. How do you not just feel in a good mood hearing Zippity-doo-dah?
Definitely. It's a really good song. It works as sort of a framework for the film. Mm-hmm. Kind of brings it all together, especially right there at the end.
Yeah, when they're all singing along and they're skipping down the road and everyone's singing Zippity-doo-dah. Love it. It really says a lot about the film. And then, of course, you have the other songs that you hear on Splash Mountain. How Do You Do?
Yeah.
And Everybody Has a Laugh in Place.
I actually think How Do You Do is a little bit catchier than Zippity-Doo-Dah.
It is. And like the movie itself, it plods along at its own pace, but it still has that upbeat quality that Zippity-Doo-Dah has.
I don't know. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's just the rhythm of it or...
I think it's the rhythm. How do you do? Find a pleasant greeting. How do you do? Say it when you're meeting. How do you do? With everyone repeating. Pretty good, sure as you're born. Yeah, how do you not get caught up in that?
I don't know. It's that sort of swing sort of element to it.
And then there's all the other songs to it. There's That's What Uncle Remus Said. Let the Rain Pour Down. That's when they're all singing as they're going off to the plantation.
That's true. Yeah.
There's Trouble Fly Away, and that's another one of the songs there. There's that Old Bird Possum Got a Trick. They're like Alice in Wonderland. It has a lot of songs to this movie, and they're just kind of neatly, tightly spliced in every.
What's also nice about the music in this film is that it doesn't stop the plot.
No.
As a matter of fact, it does a great job in advancing the plot.
As a matter of fact, it does. I never really thought about it that way.
But they don't, in a lot of, like, newer Disney films, the characters will stop and they will sing.
Yeah.
This didn't happen in Song of the South. They got kind of just peppered in and, they helped to advance the plot.
Actually, if you really think about it, there aren't even any montages in Song of the South either.
No, there are not.
A lot of times when a song is used to advance the plot, it's usually done as a form of montage. And here in Song of the South, there's none of that. It sets the mood, it sets up the characters, and it creates a whole new ambiance as soon as the songs are added in. Yeah. And by far, Song of the South will always be the best known, but How Do You Do, I think, needs more than just being interspliced as the Splash Mountain medley on a Disney Park CD.
That's true. And I know a lot of people don't like to think about sort of the incidental music, the sort of that background music where they're, going from one place to another. But I think it's pretty well done.
It is.
I'm going to go ahead and give the music in Song of the South a 3.5 out of 5.
And I give it a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Very good. Let's talk now about the characters. And obviously the characters that most folks are going to know about are the Brer characters.
Absolutely. There's a reason those guys are still hanging around at the base of Splash Mountain. For one thing, you have Brer Rabbit. He's kind of like Disney's Bugs Bunny. And I'm not saying it's because he's a rabbit.
Yeah.
He's smart, he's tricky, he thinks on his feet, he knows how to get himself out of situations, and yeah, he's always going up against someone who's hungry, but you're always rooting for him along the way.
That's true.
Then you have Brer Fox, who's kind of that snide used car salesman kind of pitch. He's way too happy in his own work. He just gets so giddy about the prospect of finally getting some rabbit stew. Thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah, very much so. Like it's almost endearing. I hate to draw the comparison. It's almost Wile E. Coyote-esque.
Yeah,
you enjoy watching him fail.
And then you have Brer Bear, he's clearly the muscle. And he doesn't even do much of anything. In fact, if anything, Brer Fox would probably have that rabbit stew if Brer Bear had not kept interfering in his plan.
That's true. He's very much an unintentional comic foil.
So if Brer Rabbit is Bugs Bunny and Brer Fox is Wile E. Coyote, I guess that makes Brer Bear Benny?
Benny?
Because there's usually a Looney Tunes character who always parodies Lenny from Of Mice and Men. I will name him George, and I will squeeze him and pet him and love him and hug him. Just a big dumb brew who doesn't know the score, and that's what he kind of reminds me of. So, yeah, there's a lot of weird Looney Tunes parallels to it. And without a doubt, the Brer characters make Song of the South work, and that's what we'll always remember them for. But let's take a look at the live-action characters.
The first person we need to talk about here is
Uncle Remus.
Uncle Remus, the scene stealer. I'm not saying that in a bad way. No, because he is brilliant. He just how does he do it?
I don't know. I mean, this actor should have gotten so much more than what he did. In fact, as you may have heard in the original podcast, he actually got an Oscar for playing Uncle Remus, and he was the first black man to win an Oscar. Mm-hmm. Hattie McDaniel was the first black person ever to win an Oscar for Gone with the Wind, and she wound up in Song of the South as Aunt Tempe. So that's incredible. And James Baskett, who was Uncle Remus, was also Brer Fox in the movie. And when the original voice of Brer Rabbit wasn't able to do him in the third segment, he was actually the voice of Brer Rabbit too during the Laugh-In Place segment.
I didn't even notice a change in his voice.
He was excruciatingly versatile. I mean, it's such a shame that he died just a year after this movie came out. No
kidding. Yeah, Uncle Remus, and
he is hands down my favorite live-action Disney character.
Most definitely. He was the very first to interact with other with animated characters.
Unless you include Virginia Davis from the Alice comedies.
I'm talking about film-wise, though.
Okay, what about Leopold Stokowski and Mickey Mouse?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But he's the one who first did it extensively. Like, he locks eyes onto Brer Rabbit, like a zigs and a zags, a twos and a froze when he's zipping around him. It's just like, holy crap, this is like Bob Hoskins worthy.
But way before. This is
42 years before. And already he was doing as good a job, if not better, than Bob Hoskins. Yes, I said it.
Yeah.
The rest of the actors, though, they're okay.
Yeah, I feel like they're definitely average.
Did you know that Little Johnny would later become Peter Pan?
Yeah, that's Bobby Driscoll.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's okay. He does a decent job.
I have to say, like, I think he definitely had that role, and he owned it.
He did, but he was kind of bland in his own way.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure if it's just me, but I felt for him when he was crying.
I did too, but when I first saw the movie, when his mom and his dad kissed, and he squinched up his face, I almost kind of looked at him I'm like, really, kid? That's a very silly looking face you just did. And then he starts going, Daddy, don't go! Please, Daddy, please! I'm like, okay, please tone it down just a bit, man.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be him realizing that Daddy's not coming back.
Yeah, that it was a heartbreaker of a scene. Let's see. Then you had Ginny. She was okay. Miss Sally, played by Ruth Wark, who was in Citizen Kane.
No kidding.
Hattie McDaniel from Gone with the Wind. I mean, for crying out loud, look at this.
This is an all-star cast. Really, some before they were all-stars, and some that never got a chance to shine.
Yeah. So, without a doubt, the Brer characters and Uncle Remus are the stars of the movie. The live-action characters did okay.
Yeah.
So
it's funny that it's hard to think of Uncle Remus as not being animated.
Yeah.
Because he is so animated. You're right, just this combination like Santa Claus and
kind of like a Morgan Freeman grandfather, babysitter. You just want to hug him every time you hear that earthy voice of his.
Yeah, and that laugh. Exactly. So I'm actually going to go ahead and give the characters of Song of the South, and I'm pretty much just lumping them all together, 3 out of 5.
I would have to give it a 4 out of 5. The Brer characters and Uncle Remus really tip it in this movie's favor.
Yeah, I feel like the other human characters, they really, when we're not seeing Uncle Remus or the Brer characters, sometimes it really pulls me out of it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Now let's talk about the animation for this film.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked it. The animation that was done it's so vibrant.
It is. It's very expressive. The characters can really emote very, very well.
They do, and I believe it's because we had at least a few, if not most of the 9 old men there.
I know at least Ollie Johnston was there animating Brer Fox, and I think Milt Kahl did some scenes where Brer Rabbit was pleading for his life.
Yeah.
And that really comes alive when you see the detail. We go, oh, Brer Fox, please. I wish I knew there was, because unfortunately, because Disney doesn't like to talk about Song of the South, there's very little information about it out there. Actually, I remember reading somewhere that Ollie Johnston was having such a hard time animating Brer Fox because he was saying as much as 8 words a second.
That's crazy.
Thank you, Uncle Remus.
Yeah, no kidding. You even hear him do it just before they hear the first Brer story.
Yeah.
When they're coming in, you hear him do the voice of Brer Fox.
What you talking about, Brer Rabbit? And I'm just like, oh yeah, that is just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The backgrounds are gorgeous. One of the concept artists for this was Mary Blair. For some of those who don't know, she's the lady who did Small World and that famous 5-legged goat mural at Contemporary Resort.
I did not know that.
It's very earthy, washed out colors, but it brings out such a life to it, especially with those cherry blossom trees.
Yeah, I did know. I noticed that, and I also noticed that the problem for me is that sometimes the characters don't pop.
No, they do get a little washed out in the background, but this is an old movie, and the DVD we watched it didn't exactly digitally upgrade it. But
apparently, like the cover says, digitally remastered, which I found that laughable.
So this is one of the reasons why we really do want to see Disney bring it back. If they could polish it up, digitally upgrade it, add a little bit of...
Do you think they still have the original cells?
Absolutely they do. Absolutely. They have them in the Animation Research Library, and they have the prints still at Disney in case that it does come up. There have been numerous talks about, well, we want to bring this out from animators, but from the higher-ups, they're kind of hemming and hawing about it. But they do have everything about Song of the South in case they do want to release it and they want to change their mind someday.
That's good. I feel like they should definitely change their mind. And a remastering of this film by Disney themselves would give this so much polish.
Exactly. And it's just can you just imagine the luster?
Yes. My hope is that if they do bring it back out, that they do not change anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just leave it as is. Don't edit anything out.
No.
So the animation for Song of the South, I think it's really great. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4 out of 5.
And I have to also agree, a 4 out of 5.
So let's go ahead and sum up our final feelings about this film overall.
Okay.
In my opinion, this is a wholly inoffensive film. Some of the techniques used in it, the interaction with the live action actors, the way that James Baskett did it, ahead of his time.
Yeah,
for sure. The tunes of this film are so toe tapping, as we discussed in the music segment.
Yes. It's hard not to just whistle along as you're watching the movie.
And I think that these elements coming together, especially with like the Brer characters and Uncle Remus, it really helps to offset a lot of the pacing problems that I have with the film.
Mm-hmm.
Other than those pacing problems, I really don't have an issue with this film. And the few times that they show things that could be construed as racist, come on. Seriously? This is 2013. This sort of thing is not... I was not personally offended by the depictions.
Of course, we're also...
Caucasian.
We're also white guys in Central Florida, so... Maybe there's something here we don't get, and we're certainly open to any counter arguments.
Yes, please post in the comments below. Please let us know what it is that is so terribly offensive about this movie that Disney won't re-release it.
Well, here's from what I've been doing on my research. Number one is the phrase tar baby. Tar baby way back in the days was used as a slur against young black children.
Okay.
And here they make a doll out of tar, and that's what catches Brer Rabbit. And people have been upset that the tar baby was a slur and used in the story. But to that I say, it was in the book. It was and it's a doll literally made of tar. Recently, Tad Stones, the creator of Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers and Darkwing Duck, he made a direct-to-video movie called The Adventures of Brer Rabbit.
Okay.
And it has Nick Cannon in it, Wanda Sykes, Danny Glover, Wayne Brady, and D.L. Hughley, a bunch of big names in it. And they have the Tar Baby segment. And they actually have not just the doll made of tar, but they even give it like a little pacifier and a little head bonnet. And they do not once call it a tar baby. They just don't even call it anything. It was definitely walked around as they were referring to it.
Interesting.
Another thing people complain about is the dialect. Any animator will tell you that it is more fun to animate a character when it has an accent.
Yeah.
Which is why so many Disney movies probably have English accent. Disney was a bit of an Anglophile.
Yeah.
So you tend to hear, Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, and so many others. And of course, what about that scene in Lady and the Tramp where you hear the Russian dog and the Hispanic dog and the Cockney bulldog?
Yeah, I mean, why weren't, for instance, I know we're going completely off track here. In Oliver and Company, you had the little Mexican Chihuahua.
Tito, yeah.
Why wasn't that deemed offensive by,
People do get offended by that because it's a Chihuahua and that's racist because it's Mexican.
Then again, Disney did make Beverly Hills Chihuahua.
Well, here's my big hang-up about race when it comes to Disney animation. We watch Peter Pan all the time. Disney releases it all the time. And yet, Anawanagunda, what makes the red man red? Why does the red man say how? What makes the red man say ugh? Are the lyrics to the song What Makes the Red Man Red? And of course, everything about the Injuns, the Native Americans. Well, I watched this review from this girl, the Lindsay Ellis, known as the nostalgic chick on That Guy with the Glasses, and she summed it up best when she said, if people remember everything, seem to only remember the race angle from Song of the South, it's because there's nothing else to remember. By God, she has a point. The slow pacing of the movie leaves a lot of it forgettable, except for the animated segments.
Yeah.
But when we watch Peter Pan, we think of Captain Hook, we think of the kids flying, we think of Neverland, we think of You Can Fly, You Can Fly, You Can Fly, we think of Tinkerbell. And then the What Makes the Red Man Red segment just kind of gets forgotten about. So Disney's able to get away with that. Song of the South, on the other hand, yeah, it has memorable characters and memorable songs, but people choose to remember it over the race because the rest of the film is so pokey slow.
Yeah, I suppose you do have a point there. But all things considered, I think the malignance against this film is completely unjustified. If
you have to watch it in context.
Yes. If we are going to advance as a species of human beings,
yes,
we have to stop letting the past really get in our way so much.
And if you're so concerned about making sure that our children know about what really happened, just pop in Roots, for crying out loud. But at least they would be watching this as a Disney movie, and if you don't want your kids to watch it, don't rent it, don't buy it. That is your choice. I want to see this movie on a polished up professional Disney DVD with behind-the-scenes bonus features with Leonard Maltin and Morgan Freeman. I keep saying Morgan Freeman, but
that would be amazing. You know that?
Absolutely.
Well, how many years has it been now since this film has come out?
Well, it came out in 1946, and as we're recording this, it's 2013. So it is easily 60, almost 70 years old now.
Okay, we're coming towards a milestone, or at least Disney considers it a milestone. Whenever a movie gets near 70, they always release it kind of Diamond Edition. Yeah. We need a Diamond Edition of Song of the South.
A Blu-ray DVD. I would buy a Blu-ray player just to get a Blu-ray DVD of Song of the South. Or, as I mentioned in the podcast, they could either sell in-park copies at Splash Mountain Gift Shop.
That would be pretty cool.
Or maybe they could have another film where every time you start to play, you would have Freeman or Leonard Maltin come in and talk about the context of it before watching the movie.
That's actually also a really good idea. Like one of those, like on the Disney Treasures collections.
Yeah. I think they can't. I think Leonard Maltin stopped those back in 2005 or so. He hasn't done anything since.
It would be pretty cool to see him again.
Yeah.
In 10 years after his absence or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
This film is maligned, and the main reason, if nothing else, the Uncle Remus stories, like the film itself, never hurt nobody.
No. And honestly, if you really don't know much about Song of the South, but you still have feelings toward it, do yourself a favor. Just pop in the movie, watch what you can on YouTube, make your own judgments and your own conclusions. And if you don't want to watch it, just don't rent it. But ultimately, it's our call. And the more of us who try to contact Disney, the more we let Bob Iger know that we want to see Song of the South, the more he will consider. I know the man himself has hemmed and hawed at the last several shareholder meetings saying, well, we may, well, we don't, I don't know. But if we let him know in one strong voice, we want to see this movie, it'll happen. Disney should release it by the time 2039 comes around when the copyright runs out.
There's another good point that the statute of copyright is coming up on them. So let's go ahead and give this film its overall rating. I myself give it a 3.5 out of 5.
And I give it a 4 out of 5. For me, it is my number one favorite Disney film.
Live action film.
No, just Disney film overall.
Disney film overall?
My favorite animated film is The Jungle Book, but even that I find second to Song of the South.
Yeah, it has that charm. It's a unique charm that you're not going to get with other Disney live action films.
No.
So, there you go. There's our review of Song of the South. Thanks again to songofthesouth.net for posting up our review on their website, and we hope to see this one up on there too.
And thanks to all of our fans who have asked us to review this movie. It's a great movie, and we want more people to know about it and spread the word.
All right, so I guess that's it for now. This is our introductory segment of Theme Park Real View. I'm SurferClock.
And I'm TAP-G.
And thanks for listening to What's the Attraction?
Where our work is your vacation.